Each year, approximately 440 school-age auto-pedestrian crashes occur in the state of Utah. The cause of these crashes and how they can be prevented are questions that need to be answered. Children 5 to 19 years of age are involved in 46% of the auto-pedestrian crashes. That is almost half. This suggests there is a need for very young children to be trained by parents and crossing guards. Additionally, males were involved in 60% of these crashes, suggesting that special effort should be taken to instruct boys and help them understand that the dangers are very real. Only 1% of these accidents occurred in areas where a crossing guard was present and trained properly. Children in traffic are different from other pedestrians. They don't see things the way an adult might see them, and they tend to mix fantasy and reality. Children are also smaller than adults. This makes it difficult for them to see drivers and be seen by drivers. They assume that because they can see a car, the driver of that car must be able to see them. Children have about 1/3 less the field of vision of adults. Children tend to pick out sounds that interest them the most and have a difficult time determining the direction from which a sound is coming. They have no sense of danger and cannot judge speed and distance. Children tend to focus their attention on something they find interesting and are easily distracted. Finally, children have a lot of energy, and once they begin a motion, they won't stop until it's completed. You as a school crossing guard are important because you assist thousands of young children in crossing the streets on their daily journeys to and from school. You also instruct children while they are using the crosswalks in safe crossing techniques that will help them in unattended crossings. You represent a symbol of safety to children and drivers and help them both to share the road safely. As a crossing guard, you are hired, trained, and equipped by the local law enforcement agency. School zones and crossing guards are governed by the school zone supplement to the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices for statewide uniformity. You are responsible for the direction of pedestrian traffic only, not vehicular traffic. Crossing guards' prime responsibility is to provide a safe gap in traffic for children to cross the street. The agency hiring you will provide specific equipment to aid in your duties as a crossing guard. It is your responsibility to secure and maintain this equipment, and you will be held accountable for it. Your equipment will include two 28-inch cones, a bright reflectorized vest, and an 18-inch double-sided reflectorized stop paddle. If you are assigned to a crosswalk where children must cross more than one leg of an intersection, you will receive 2 cones per crosswalk. The cones must be placed on each side of the ladder crosswalk at the center line. The vest and stop paddles are the primary tools to gain the driver's attention and cooperation. These should always be in good condition, not faded, scratched, or altered. The local law enforcement agency is responsible for providing this equipment. Since consistency in traffic control devices is important for driver education and performance, you as a crossing guard may not alter existing devices or use non-standard devices. Altered or non-standard devices are illegal and may actually increase a driver's reaction time with possible disastrous results. There are several typical school crossing situations, each of which will require the same amount of preparation by you, the crossing guard. You must be familiar with the actions you should take if an incident should happen, and know who to notify if the traffic control device is damaged or missing. You should have a list of the appropriate phone numbers with you and know the location of the nearest phone. The Utah Traffic Code states that crossing guards are authorized to direct only pedestrians and not vehicular traffic. You must inspect all equipment and traffic control devices relating to the crossing and report deficiencies. You must inspect the crossing for hazards and make sure that there is enough space to hold children waiting to cross. There are several types of school crosswalks that you could be assigned to. The most common location for a school crossing guard is at a reduced speed school zone. This is the only area that the Utah state law provides for a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit where school children cross the road. The speed zone is only enforced when the flashing school speed limit signs are in operation. The speed zone starts at the flashing school speed limit sign on the near side of the crosswalk. The zone ends at the end school zone sign on the far side of the crosswalk. The ladder-type crosswalk with cones is standard for these reduced speed zones. It is important to turn on the flashing school speed limit signs and lock them in the on position and place the cones at the correct location at about 35 minutes before school starts. Each crossing has its own demands, however, and times may vary accordingly. Both signs should be turned on before placing the cones. The cones are placed on the yellow center line in the street on each side of the crosswalk so that they can be seen by the motorists approaching from both directions. Care should be taken when placing the cones to not interfere with left-turning traffic. The time to turn off the flashing school speed limit signs is no later than 30 minutes after the last class has been dismissed. You start by first removing the cones. Turn off one of the flashing speed limit signs and then the other. You'll notice this is the reverse order of how you turned the signs on earlier in the day. Be sure to lock the flashing light switches on and then off. This will ensure the lights are not turned on or off inappropriately and help prevent theft. Cones should be stored off-site by the crossing guard. The flashing school speed limit signs may only be operated when children are going to or from school. This means that they may have to be turned on and off and the cones placed and removed several times a day, in the morning, at lunchtime, and in the afternoon. The signs and cones must be handled in the exact same manner each time. Another type of crosswalk you may be assigned to is one at a traffic signal. In this instance, there may be a walk, don't walk, push button. If your school has a safety patrol, they may have the responsibility to push this button. If there is no safety patrol, you are the only one who should operate this walk, don't walk, push button. This device allows extra time for pedestrians to cross. The guard should instruct the children in safe crossing techniques and explain the meaning of the walk, don't walk symbol or message. Pedestrians may start crossing when the walking person symbol or walk message is displayed. When the upraised palm symbol or don't walk message is displayed, the pedestrian may continue walking if already in the intersection, but may not start to cross if not already in the intersection. Never try to cross children against the signal or try to extend the crossing time against the don't walk symbol. Stay in the center of the crosswalk until all the children have reached the other side safely. Then return to your original position. If you were assigned to a crossing with a stop sign, there is an assumption that vehicles will observe it and stop. This is not always the case. It is very important to make sure all vehicles come to a complete stop before crossing the children. As a crossing guard, it is important that you teach the children all of the safety rules for the crossing they should know. Not to cross the street unless the guard is there to assist them. Where to stand while waiting to cross. Stop before entering the street. Select a safe gap in traffic. No pushing or shoving. Wait until the guard reaches the center of the street and signals them to cross. Look both ways before they cross and while they cross. If at an intersection, watch for the left and right turning traffic behind them. Walk quickly across the street. Do not ride bikes, scooters, skates, skateboards, etc. You may need to ask them to get off these. Check with your supervisor for jurisdiction policy. Great care must be taken as you interact with children. There are some important guidelines regarding touching, which could even include zipping a coat, tying a shoe, patting on the back, etc. Inappropriate touching is punishable by law. Since you are constantly in the public view, perception is very important. Striking a child is against the law. Grabbing a child is forbidden unless it is to snatch them from harm's way. Check with your city as to any policy they may have. Once you've explained these safety rules to the children, you will set an example by looking both ways and selecting a safe gap in traffic in which to cross the children. You should have the children wait on the curb until you are in the center of the street and signal that it is safe for the children to cross. Notice that you raise the stop paddle high as you enter the street. While the children cross, you remain alert while instructing them to watch the traffic as they cross. When the children are safely across, you return to your original position, then lower your stop paddle. Since you have no authority to control or direct traffic, you do not attempt to motion the vehicles to start. If a suitable gap in traffic does not occur in about 2 minutes, the guard may have to enter the crosswalk and stop traffic. You do this by raising your stop paddle high above the head and slowly entering the crosswalk while making sure the traffic is stopping before you enter the traffic lane. You continue to the center of the street and make sure that all traffic is stopped in both directions before signaling the children to cross. Do not wait in the crosswalk for children who have not yet arrived at the crosswalk. Motion for them to wait at the curb for the next crossing. Remember that signs, cones, or stop paddles do not automatically protect you or the children from a collision. Stay alert. Keep an eye on traffic at all times and wear your safety vest whenever you are on duty. If you have a problem with a motorist, get information to turn into law enforcement. You will need date, time, license plate number, description of the vehicle, and a witness if possible. In court, you will have to make a positive identification of the driver to secure a conviction. The procedures for crossing and instructing the children are exactly the same in all types of crosswalks. Now, let's review some of the most important points of this program. You should have a list of contacts and know where the nearest phone is. You must arrive at your crosswalk in time to inspect the signs, crosswalks, and crossing guard equipment so as to be able to turn the lights on 35 minutes before school starts. Always wear your vest while on duty. If you are working at a 20-mile-per-hour reduced school speed zone, you must turn on the flashing lights and place the cones in the proper sequence 35 minutes prior to the start of school. Group the children away from the curb or roadway and wait for a suitable gap in the traffic before stepping out into the crosswalk. Keep in mind that not all motorists will stop for you, no matter who you are or what you are doing. This is your opportunity to teach children to cross safely. Instruct by example so that they will stop before entering the street. This knowledge could save a life when children must cross without a crossing guard. Look left, right, then left again. Wait for a safe gap in traffic. When safe to do so, walk quickly across the street while looking for approaching vehicles at all times. The children should not run, play, or ride bicycles in the street. The majority of crossing guards are at elementary schools, and your basic responsibility is to elementary students. Junior high students at an elementary crossing may cause problems. If they insist on crossing alone, you should let them. If you have further problems with them, contact the school or your supervisor. Your crossing guard supervisor will help you with substitutions, act as a liaison to law enforcement issues, equipment and crosswalk problems, or reporting problem motorists. The school principal is also there to assist with problems with children, act as a liaison to the Traffic Safety Committee, and problems with parents dropping off and picking up children. Be sure you obtain an exact schedule for your specific school from the office and make sure the school always has a way to contact you. Remember that you are not only a crossing guard, but also an instructor on how to share the road safely with automobiles. Be courteous to both pedestrians and motorists, and they will get into the habit of watching out for you and respecting your actions. As a school crossing guard, you are the most important part of the school crossing system. The signs and other traffic control devices cannot take as active a role in protecting children on their way to school as you can, nor can they instruct children in safe crossing techniques that can help them at other crossings. We wish to thank you for being a school crossing guard. You are a representative of your city's law enforcement agency, and your job is a key element in traffic safety.